right, YouTube, we got another great top five fishing spot video for you here today. We are going to talk about North Lake up here in Bishop Creek Canyon. This is just west of Bishop, California, not too far from the valley, and it is definitely one of the more scenic lakes that you can visit in the area. Before we get to the top five, we're going to talk about some of the features of the lake, and then we'll get into it. All right, let's go. All right, let's first talk about the access, how to get to this lake. Pretty easy. You're going to head west, or it was actually south, on the 168 toward Lake Sabrina. And just before you get to the Lake Sabrina campground, you're going to see a little turnoff right here, and you're going to head up this road. Now, this is a pretty sketchy little shelf road. They've widened it out quite a bit over the years. Way back when I first started coming here, probably almost 30 years ago, this was just a one car road. I mean, if there were any other cars on the road, somebody was backing up. But nowadays, plenty of room for cars, and you can head up here, and you will come to this day use area right here. A lot of people get fooled into parking here thinking this is the only parking lot, and it really isn't. This is just one of the options that you can use to park here. A lot of float tubers like to take advantage of this, park here and walk around the corner and dump in right here, which is a great thing to do. It's probably one of the better spots. The other way is a lot farther to the lake for somebody that's just going to get in the water anyway. But if you're going to shore fish it, we'll talk about where you would fish that from this spot later. But this is definitely not the ideal location for that. And it is a very small parking lot. Continue on down the road, and then you're going to make a right turn right here. If you keep going straight, you're going to end up at the North Lake Campground, which is a great little campground for another video. But making a right over here toward the hiking parking lot, pass that up, and then you'll come to the last parking lot, and it is right here where you will park. Always plenty of parking here, and then you're going to walk off to the lake. This is the inlet to the lake right here, North Fork of Bishop Creek, and it's pretty deep. This lake features water that's a little more than 40 feet deep out here. You can see there's a pocket right in here, and in that area, it is pretty deep. I float tubed out here quite a few times in the past with a 50-foot anchor line and nearly used the whole line to drop anchor out here. So it's pretty deep little lake, and it is loaded with mosquitoes. So if you go up here and it hasn't been a frost yet, or it's after all the frost in the summer or late spring, bring some kind of mosquito repellent. You will definitely need it, or you're going to get chewed up here. And especially for the kiddos, you do not want to bring your kids up here and not have something. Cover up, wear long sleeves, whatever it is you got to do. But there are a lot of mosquitoes. So access, well, lots of great little shore spots along this lake. In fact, there's quite a few. And this lake never, ever gets low on water. And even still, there's plenty of fishing spots all on the shore. The only place that's not accessible by shore really is this little area right here. And some people will brave it. I do not recommend that. It gets really deep real fast. So if you walk over into the reeds, you may sink in and get stuck too. So pretty muddy, reedy, nasty little area. And but hey, that's what this video is for, is to talk about the top five spots. And well, let's get into it. Spot number one. For spot number one, we're going to talk about the inlet. It is the first spot you will walk up to when you're approaching from the parking lot over this way. You can see there are several trails that lead along here. This area can be hit and miss depending on the water levels. If it's early in the season, this is quite marshy in this area. Later in the year, a lot better. And you can get in here and fish through here, through the inlet, and pretty cool little area. But why fish this spot? Well, that cold water coming out of the mountains hits this lake, and turns this area right here into a uh, kind of a temperature controlled area for the fish, and tends to be very good because of that. And a lot of the native fish, and there are native fish in here now, or wild, as it were, as in brookies, and even a few brown trout are in here that spawn. Right in here is where you will find those fish generally in a higher concentration throughout the year as opposed to other areas of the lake. So you got this conveyor belt of food delivering lots of mosquitoes and bugs and everything. So it's just an obvious choice to fish it. You can see there are some goat trails leading across over here. People have waded across and done that over here, but it's totally unnecessary. You don't need to do that. Just park over there and walk. There's plenty of ways to get to the shore over here without having to cut through over this way. And beside that, there's just no parking over here anyway. You're literally parking on the road, and you don't need to do that. So just park in the parking lot and head over here. You can fish along in here. Now, access is great. There's really no shortage of shoreline. I've never seen it just crowded over here. Never. And even in today's fishing atmosphere, where places tend to get pretty crowded, it's never that bad. So if you get here and it's busy, there's always one of the other spots I'm going to list here that'll be plenty open for you to go fish it. But this is a great spot to try bubble and fly. If you've heard about that method in the past, it's kind of like a spin fisherman's way to fish with flies, and it is a great place to try it. My last video up here was using jigs in this area, and did very well with those. But this is one of my favorite lakes to do a bubble and fly. It's very successful, and it's just a great way to approach the lake. And the fish really tune into those flies here because of the natural food sources and the volume of mosquitoes landing on this lake just drive the fish nuts. So it's definitely worth trying that. You can, of course, throw bait and anything else you want to do over here, but a bubble fly in this area is really deadly, and you will catch your limit and then some. It is not uncommon to see over 100 fish a day in this area, and like that last video up there, we were well over 100 fish by the time we left there, and we weren't even there a quarter of a day. So it can be done, and this is definitely going to make my list. The inlet here at North Lake for spot number one. All right, for spot number two. So here is the inlet, and you're just going to walk a little bit farther into these little openings in the bushes here, and that is my spot number two. And like I was saying earlier, there really aren't very many spots to try on this lake. This lake is really small, but the idea of this video is to give you an overview of what spots are available and what makes each one unique. And this one is a great one for families. That's what I really like about this spot. And it does make the list because of that. It is a great little place. This is where this actual opening right here is where my last video on here took place, was in that spot right here. And because you can get into the deeper water, and you have a nice little opening for some privacy, and so people can't just walk right up and fish right on top of you. And that's kind of what I like about this. These little spots are open just enough that you don't get people coming up to you and crossing over your lines and getting into your stuff. And that's what's great about it. There's plenty of room here. You just got to get here early enough, basically, to get one of these spots. And generally speaking, even on the busier days, one of these spots is probably open. So don't worry too much. You could arrive here late in the day and probably still get one of them. But the access is great. This is probably the number one family fishing spot for this lake. If you're going to bring the kids and whole army of people, this is a great little area to try out because it's good access to the trail, not too far from the car. And there's some good flat areas real close to the water right here for your chairs. And the fishing is always good. You're in the main pool. You're casting into the main pool for the lake. I've always had a lot of success through here. And again, just make sure you're well prepared for those mosquitoes. these bushes right through here are loaded with them, and they will try to get at you as you're fishing along the shore. But out of pure convenience and, like I said, for the family atmosphere of these spots, that's why it makes the top five at spot number two. Spot number three, we're going to move to the back of the lake. This is an area, historically, it's called the slide. And it's because of this rock slide right here. And this is one of my favorite spots on the lake. Probably my favorite spot on the lake. Why? Because there are always so many fish over here, no matter what. And I think it has to do with the fact that there's a really good drop off real close to shore over here, and just makes for spectacular lure, jig, bubble fly fishing over here. Can you use a bait rod? Absolutely. There are no special restrictions here at North Lake, but it is one of the best spots on the lake, the rock slide. And this is where I had a video about 2 videos ago. I was back here getting hammered by mosquitoes, and this is where it was. It was back in this corner, and they just hang out on these trees during the day, and when you're nearby, they just come out of there and attack you. So be prepared. But fishing here is spectacular. No need to cast far. You could cast 20 feet out right here with a bait rod, and you will limit out no problem. Probably within an hour or less, you'll have a limit of fish. And this is where I learned how to throw a spoon, was here at North Lake, because it was so good. Now, back then, the spoon bite for me wasn't the greatest. I did better here with bait back then, but nowadays, my craft is much better, and I prefer to throw the spoons over this way. But the fish can get a little picky over here with jig spoon. So if you find that they're not biting it, try something small like a gulp egg or a power egg, maybe even a mice tail, and just on a split shot. You don't need to rig a Carolina rig or anything crazy. Just clamp on a split shot about 2 feet, 3 feet above the hook, and cast that bad boy out there, and you will do just fine catching fish right here at the slide. This is an old school spot. It is well known for over 30 years to fish this area, and one of the more popular spots in that time frame. But just an excellent spot. Definitely has to make the top five. And these are in no particular order, guys, but this is more of like the top fishing spots for the lake as a whole. But if I had to rank it, this would probably be number two if I were ranking them, but I'm not. So this is just the third one on the list, and it does make the top five. Number three, right there at the rock slide. All right, for number four is the outlet. And what makes the outlet any good? Well, it is a shallow area, and it's not the best in that aspect, but you can see a really good drop off beginning right here. So, what I recommend is shore fishing is don't go all the way to the outlet. Don't fish over here. You don't have to. You want to fish over here closer to the outlet, and you can mark it up by seeing this big boulder right here to match up with where you got to be along the shore. But you want to be in the outlet because a lot of the food, everything's being sucked out through the outlet right here. And so fish tend to just line up along the shore over here waiting for that food to go by. And that's why I like it. But, is there an easy way to get to this? Not really, because you have to walk all the way around. But it is a short walk. I'd say it's about 15 minutes maybe from the parking lot to walk around this whole thing and to get over here. If you want to, and you have waders on, you can park at this parking lot and cut across the river over here and get over there pretty fast within 5 minutes or so. But it does make the top five because it is a great spot to try, and it'll be a lot less busy over here. So if you're ever at the lake and the rock slide, the shoreline over here, or even the inlet is packed, this area for sure will have nobody down here. I very rarely see anybody down here. These little goat trails you see, these are actually deer trails, game trails in the area, and they use that to come down and get water from the lake and all that. But so keep an eye out for deer. There's always a couple tucked into these bushes in the area. But this is just a great spot to try to get away from people. And again, right down in this area, I will throw a spoon out here and just kill them, guys. So great spot. Now the outlet itself, yeah, right here at the outlet, very shallow. So this is a great spot to bounce a jig or to try that bubble fly off the surface. There are fish that will stack up in here certain times of the year. They'll just hang out over here. But again, like I said earlier, the access isn't the greatest for shore fishing right here, but it can be done. And I really consider this area the outlet too, because the current just goes right through here. You can almost see the trough that it creates, and the natural this is a natural lake, but the before the lake probably formed, there was probably a lot more flow, just like from right here to here, and that's what created this drop off. So you could even see it in the bend of the lake, but it is a great spot nonetheless. So, like I said, if you're looking to get away from people, try out the outlet. It's a great little spot along this side of the shoreline, and that's it for number 4. So for number 5 is actually a float tubing spot, and it is right here in front of these reeds. If you're gonna float tube, definitely try this out. You can see a lot of float tubers are out here on the lake, out near the middle, and you don't need to do that. But one of the greatest spots is right here along the reeds. I like to park my tube either right on the reeds and cast out this way, like out in a fan that way, or I like to park out here in front of the reeds and cast like parallel to the reeds. But this area, man, is always loaded with fish, and is a very difficult place to get to from shore because, like I said, this is a very marshy, flooded area generally, and it's just not safe from shore. But if you have a float tube, and quite a few people will float tube this lake, and it's a great lake to do it. I've done it a few times, and it is so fun to float tube here. And a great place to practice it because it's such a small lake, and it generally doesn't get too windy here, and it's pretty protected in this little canyon. So it's a great spot to try out. But if you do flow tube it, definitely hang out right in this area, and you will fish very well. There are no reeds, and you'll see where the drop off is, and you can see like a little depression right here. And but it's best to hit that from the shoreline. So back up your tube and just cast out in this area, and let your lures, jigs, all that sink pretty well. If you are out here on a tube and you're going to bait fish at all, make sure you use a really long leader. You need like a 5-foot leader on there, and that'll help get you above the weed lines and stuff that are out here. It gets pretty weedy in some of these spots, especially as you move toward this outlet. This could be a very weedy area, but it's pretty deep out here. Like I said, over 40 feet deep, and plenty of action in that suspended section of the water. So between the top, 10, 15 feet of water is generally plenty of fish right there. So that's why this spot makes my number 5, because it is just one of the best spots on the lake to float tube. Are there other good spots? Of course, you can kick around, but probably by tube, this is the one that makes it the most worthwhile, and just has to make the list. So that's it for the top 5. So that's it for the top 5, guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I love doing these videos to help out new fishermen and people that are thinking about going to another lake or somewhere new, and they just need some tips. That's what this is all about. I've had people post up on some other videos that, I'm glad you didn't give away the real good spots. Well, to me, these are the real good spots. So if you're watching this video, just know that these are just opinion videos. It doesn't make it better or worse than your opinion, but it does help out a lot of people in finding these spots to fish and learn a little bit about these lakes. They're far away from where most people live, don't live down the street from here. And it's tough to drive 300 miles to a lake only to find out that you don't know anything about it and you're not being very successful at the lake. So this will definitely help you guys out. If you are interested in more top fives like this and other fishing adventures, make sure you hit those subscribe buttons. If you're looking for weekly reports and you want to save yourself the time to find out where the best fishing is right now, head over to Patreon. That link is also in the description of the video below. Would love to see you guys over there. All right, that's going to be it from North Lake, California. Bye for now.